Fitzy and Whipper with Kate Ritchie.
Oh, the chief exorcist of the Vatican. This is inspired by true stories.
That's what makes it even scarier.
Oh, we've seen this movie, and the man that plays the chief exorcist is the man himself. I want to, if you can, Mr. Crow, start with the voice that you use in the movie. Good morning.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. Oh my goodness, good morning, Mr. Crow.
Che fai, principessa? That's all I know in Italian. What are you doing, princess? Mate, welcome.
What are you doing, Princess?
Buongiorno. No, John Borno.
How you doing, guys? You good?
Yeah, we're well, mate. Thank you for
great.
coming on the show. This is a phenomenal film, and as Kate was sitting there grabbing my leg intensely, I was more turned on by your ability to speak Italian. It was beautiful.
Easily pleased, it seems.
I mean,
We've known that for years, Kate.
Yeah, I know. Do you know what, Russell? I've just joined this show. I'm now the third member of the team. The first film they send me to see as a group is your film, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to say
that's just called luck, Kate.
Well,
That's called luck.
It is, but from now on, I'm not going to see the scary ones because it just gave Whipper an opportunity to, snuggle up.
That's not true.
Act as though he was quite scared.
But you turned to me at the start, right? We're about 15 minutes in, and you went, "Geez, Russell Crowe's good."
But I've always said that.
It is so good. The film, don't get me wrong, is bloody scary, but it's fascinating.
It's also funny.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is funny.
Is it a
That's the great thing about this character. He's a real man, Gabriele Amorth. He was, and this is a real job, chief exorcist of the Vatican. When I first read that, I thought somebody had just, a screenwriter had come up with a snappy title, and then I looked into it and I was like, oh my God, that's actually a real job. And it's been going on for hundreds of years, And Amorth was the chief exorcist for 36 years. But, prior to that, he'd done other things in his life, and he'd been a journalist, so he's a natural writer. So he's left behind 12 books of his first-person experiences of being an exorcist. So from an actor's perspective, that's just a treasure chest, So I got very excited when the gig was suggested. And, that's the thing about the film. Yes, it's on the surface, it's a horror film, and there's going to be those moments when you do grab your partner next to you or whatever, or your friend or some stranger, and who's going to become your friend. But on top of that, it's got kind of elements of the Da Vinci Code. It's got a little touch of Indiana Jones. There's other things going on. And, of course, this guy at the center of it, he's the most irreverent and profane priest probably, that you've seen for a while. He rides a Lambretta scooter, and in his position, the only person he has to answer to is the Pope. So within the hierarchy of the church, that's not that doesn't often go down very well.
But you went to Rome to research this, though, the character, Russ. How much do they let you in, though, like the church?
Yeah.
Did you get to go in there and see a bit of what was happening?
Yeah, have you had a private tour of the Vatican?
Oh, many times. But, specifically on this, the Vatican were extremely open. They gave me access to people who are friends of his, to his former colleagues, brothers in the same order. I met a man who had performed 160 exorcisms with Father Amorth. But the Vatican have always been very generous towards me. And recently I was in Rome doing these interviews and meetings, and I had my kids with me for about 6 days, and they just offered it, would you like to walk through the Vatican Museum just with your family?
Wow.
And so my mum was there too, and we went on this incredible tour just by ourselves. We were in the Sistine Chapel by ourselves, right? Man. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is such a privilege, because I've been there before, but with thousands of people, right? And they always have just natural light in the chapel. It's natural light. They don't turn on any lights, so everything's kind of muted in there, And this guy came up to me and he goes, for you, we're going to turn on the Pope light.
The Pope
light?
light?
What do you mean? And he goes, well, there's sometimes the Holy Father, he likes to come for contemplation, but he likes to see all the paintings. So we push this button and this whole room, it's like full light, So the color, the tone of the light blues change. Wow. And now you can see the expression on people's faces in a different way. And it's just this magnificent experience. And my kids were awestruck, And as we were leaving, I said to the guys, thank you so much for that, man. That was incredible. Why did you do that? And he goes, Maximus, you are the eighth cavalry.
Maximus!
Because that's what I was going to say. I mean,
that is amazing.
anytime you would go back to Rome or there's a role to do with Rome, mate, you're a walk-up star. Like, that city
last
loves
year
you.
they actually they gave me an honorary title, which was very, very kind of them. The mayor of Rome in a ceremony at the town hall there.
How good is that?
Ambasciatore di Roma nel mondo. So I'm the ambassador for Rome in the world.
That is so good, and you're selling it beautifully too.
It's such a shame. Sally from Home and Away doesn't really get
She could have
opening as many doors as...
could have done it. I mean, if
But
Gladiator was a female
you get free
role,
fish and chips at Palm Beach.
I
don't
do! Not even that, Russell. Not even that.
and in Yabby Creek,
I have to walk to the lighthouse on my own.
Russell could. Think of the perks, mate. Can I ask, like, when you talk and you read the stories about exorcists and exorcism and what they actually do, at the start of the film, Fitz, that moment too where Satan's taken over this man's body and there's a pig involved and there's sacrifices and you have to get the devil out of the body. Is that what really took place and it actually worked?
Well, if you remember the plot, there's 2 exorcisms in the course of the film, but the first one is not an exorcism.
No, he's mentally
It's
ill.
theatre.
Yeah, it is.
You see, so there's a big difference between, the 98% of people that might go, looking for an exorcism, but actually have some kind of medical issue or psychiatric issue. And then there's the 2% of the inexplicable, which Amorth describes as evil,
Yeah.
So, there's gigantic questions about this. And obviously this is a feature film. And we have imagery in the film, which is based on the fact that you're going to, visual entertainment. And we're doing what we'll say on the box. We're trying to, scare you, whatever, But, if you just bring that question down a few notches and get it to a base level, is there evil existent in our world?
Oh, of course there is.
There is. I went out with a girl who lived next to a house.
She was still talking then.
Yeah, no. And the police would be called to the house all the time because neighbours would call the police because there were screams and they were performing exorcisms in the house. And it was a known thing and it was a done thing. And families would bring people in that apparently the devil had taken over and that's what would take place.
Really?
Yes.
You're making this up.
I'm not making this up.
There was a Ouija board and people were just freaking out.
Russell, you would agree. It still goes on today.
Well, I think everyone has a dark side.
Like I said, the chief exorcist of the Vatican is an actual position. It's a real job.
And does it still exist, Russell?
Amorth died in 2016, but another man has taken over that position.
Wow.
In the course of Amorth's lifetime, when he was in the job, you're talking tens of thousands of exorcisms that he performed.
Get to confess some sins while you're over there as well, Russ? Did you get to sit down and get a few things off your chest?
Here we go. So that's another aspect of Catholicism, which is very interesting because, Amorth was very aware of the medical thing, as we discussed, right? And he would, push people away and recommend them to doctors, whatever, if he thought that what it was. But if we look at what confession is, right? So I think this is a very rudimentary beginning of mental health. Just talk about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what we say to people, isn't it? Are you okay?
Yeah.
We want you to talk about. We want people to talk about. Talk through. Find somebody that you can just get things off your chest. And I think that's where where the whole idea of confession begins. It's like get rid of these things that drag you down. Bring them out into the open. Discuss it. Clear your head, and then carry on. There's a lot of things that we all carry, things that we didn't do right, that we wish we'd done better, doorways we wish we'd gone through. There's and it is quite a healthy thing to, when you think about it, just get it off your chest.
Couldn't agree more. Do you know, and I was wondering too how you'd be this morning because I'm just looking at the lineup for Indoor Garden Party. Did you perform last night?
No. The new shows start on the 9th of May.
May.
9th of May. So we're going to be in...
This is awesome.
Coffs again? You going to Hoey Moe?
Coffs Harbour. Yeah, we're going to do 2 nights again at the Coffs Harbour and Hoey Moe.
Any
we're going to do the Glass House in Port Macquarie. the Bridge Hotel in Sydney, the Cherry Bar in Melbourne, the SB in Melbourne,
Great.
Miami Marquetta on the Gold Coast, the Triffid in Brisbane. We're actually playing at Australia Zoo. You can see a crocodile show, then me, and then another crocodile show.
And an exorcism at the same
We're going to
time.
play at the Canberra Theatre, and we're doing a gig at the Sydney Opera House. That's a bit of class, right?
Oh, wow.
Sydney Opera House, bit of a class. Yeah. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing?
rah.
Please,
Now,
what
have
did
you-
Lennon say? Just rattle your jewellery. And we finish off in the Manning Bar in Sydney.
Oh, there
Can
you go.
I just say, because Kate's new to the show, it would seem rude if we didn't do the first Fitzy and Whipper team event indoor garden party.
It's not bad.
We've all got to go.
What do you mean?
Red Room.
Cool.
Even Byron. Let's all go to Byron.
No, did you?
Cool.
Can you remember when you guys first met, Kate? Can you remember when you first met
You know
Russ?
what? I think I feel as though we've known each other for a very long time. I'm not sure how it might be through industry circles, football circles. It's all.
Yeah, you were little, baby, when we met. You were like, weren't you? You started as a kid, right?
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
I
you've got to
think.
remember how long I've been around. You know, I did my first gig when I was 6 years old in 1970.
What was that?
You know,
Was it an ad?
so I've been working as an actor for a very, very long time. So my memory was some sort of thing, and I think it was something like, you know, they did an audience vote thing one year.
Yeah.
Gary, the fellow from Police Rescue, Gary Sweet.
Oh, yeah.
He ended up
Sweetie.
winning. I was nominated for a award, but I think it was in that. Do you remember? It was,
Oh, like in the
what did they call
Logie,
it?
at the Logies or something. I think
Not
you
the
actually.
Logies. It was another thing.
Oh, the
There was an
actors?
audience vote. No, it was
People's
another thing.
Choice. Remember the People's,
People's
Choice? And it only lasted a few years. I actually think you introduced me to Leonardo DiCaprio at the
Whoa.
Star one night as well.
What?
Okay, well,
So, and then I think-
that would have been when you were older.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, but not older than 22.
It was like an exorcist that night.
Russell.
Leo, I have all of the women under 22 in Sydney for you to meet. Please.
That's extraordinary.
That is brilliant.
So, first things first.
Okay.
What was the gig when you were 6, Russell? What was the acting gig?
Yeah, what did you do?
It was a TV show called Spy Force,
Yeah.
and it starred Jack Thompson.
Yeah,
So my first line on camera, and the one and only line I had in the show, and I'm not even sure if it was used in the show. I think it was over my shoulder at the time. Was with Jack Thompson.
Isn't
And
that
then
special?
Now he's your
years
good
later,
friend.
we
yeah.
got to star in The Sum of Us Together, and you know, we basically had a lifelong friendship. You know, one of the reasons that I bought my farm up in the bush is because that's up where Jack's place
Yeah.
was, you know, or nearby, and I'd spent quite a bit of time, you know, being up there. And
How cool is that?
recently, man, when we played at
Poker Face.
the Hoey Moey in Coffs Harbour in January, right? 82-year-old Jack Thompson got up on stage and played harmonica with me and Troy Casabailey.
Oh,
It was so cool.
Oh,
man.
how great's
It was
Troy.
very cool. It was a legendary moment. I don't know if you know how well Jack can play the harp, but if you've seen the movie that came out that I directed last year called Poker Face, there's a sequence in that when he plays the shaman and he starts playing the harmonica, and that's one take live.
He's good.
of Jack just playing at night time in the bush, you know. So
Awesome.
yeah, he's really good. So
Love
that was a bit of fun.
Love.
It's an incredible thing that the job that I do. There's these sort of karmic circles that you work in, you know.
Yeah.
You have these very close relationships with people, but unlike sort of other professions, you don't necessarily get to see that person all the time because you're on a cycle of travel or what have you.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me to know Jack when I was a little boy, and then to play his son when I was in my 20s, and to still have the strength of relationship that we do now, and
beautiful.
enjoy each other's company. Yeah, it's magnificent.
It is
I get
magnificent. The Pope's Exorcist starring Russell Crowe. It's in cinemas next Thursday. You got to finish off with a bit of deep Italian for us before we go, Russ, if you
Yes,
can.
Russell.
Oh, I don't want to like put your listeners on such a high that they can't go on with the rest of their day.
We love you, Russ.
That they might need a nap and a tap. So we probably shouldn't do that.
We love you, Russ.
What a pleasure.
Mate, good to see you again, brother. Look after yourself.
See you,
Thanks,
boys.
legend. See you, mate.
Yeah.
Fitzy and Whipper with Kate Ritchie.
Nova.